Brothers and sisters of Burkina Faso, sons and daughters of Africa, tonight I speak to you not as a distant head of state behind the walls of a palace, but as one of you, a child of this soil, a soldier who has stood in the mud and dust with his comrades, a son who has drunk from the same rivers, walked the same roads, and felt the same heat of the Sahel sun. I speak with the full weight of the truth because our people deserve to know what has been done in the shadows against them and what we have done to defend their dignity. For months now, forces beyond our borders have whispered, plotted, and paid hands to sow confusion in Ouagadougou, to divide our army, to bribe our officials, to seed lies in our press, and to set our citizens against one another. They have called this democracy, they have called it assistance, they have called it partnership, but in reality it is nothing more than a regime change operation designed to reverse the independence we are building. I tell you tonight before God, before our ancestors, before the spirits of all who fought for this land, that the plot against Burkina Faso has collapsed. It did not crumble because of luck. It did not vanish because its architects suddenly found their conscience. It fell apart because the power of a united, dignified people is stronger than any scheme conceived in secret. It collapsed like a termite-ridden house when the first rains arrive. It collapsed because we refused to bow our heads, even as they tried to press us into the dust. They offered threats, we answered with courage. They offered bribes, we answered with integrity. They tried to frighten us with their size, their networks, their embassies, their sanctions, their media. But every time they raised their hand, our people raised their heads higher. It collapsed because ordinary Burkinabe men and women, the market women who carry firewood at dawn, the teachers who light the flame of knowledge, the soldiers who patrol the frontiers, the farmers who coax food from the earth, refuse to betray their country for a handful of coins or the hollow promises whispered in the dark corridors of foreign embassies. They stood as guardians at every door. When a bag of money was passed under a table, a hand pushed it back. When a whisper of fear moved through a village, a stronger voice answered, "We are not afraid." When a rumor appeared on a radio station, a neighbor replied with the truth. This is why the plot collapsed, because the heart of our people proved incorruptible. It collapsed because the African continent itself is stirring from a long sleep. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, from Niamey to Nairobi, our brothers and sisters are recognizing the same pattern, the same traps, the same cynical games. They are lifting their eyes, comparing notes, building solidarity, declaring that the era of regime change and economic subjugation is over. The architects of our humiliation can no longer hide behind development conferences and polite communiques. Their plans are exposed under the light of a new dawn. That light, my friends, is not just Burkina Faso's light, it is Africa's light, and it is growing stronger with each passing day. It collapsed, finally, because history has a law that no army can repeal. When a people stand upright, rooted in their dignity, even the most powerful cannot force them to their knees. You can bribe an official, you cannot bribe an awakened nation. You can topple a leader, you cannot topple a conscience. You can occupy a territory, you cannot occupy a spirit that has decided to be free. No arsenal of propaganda, no sum of money, no coalition of mercenaries can conquer a people whose hearts beat with one rhythm of freedom and whose eyes see clearly the path ahead. This is not romantic talk, this is reality. Ask every empire that thought it could rule forever, and watch how they have all crumbled when confronted by a people united in courage. This is why tonight I can look you in the eyes and say with confidence, their plot is finished, their mercenaries are scattered, their bribes have been refused, their lies have been exposed, their plans lie in tatters, not because of me alone, not because of a handful of officers or ministers, but because of you, the ordinary citizens who chose country over comfort, dignity over fear, truth over lies. This is your victory, this is Africa's victory, this is the victory of the human spirit. And let all who still plan in the shadows take note. When you come against a people who stand upright, you are not confronting a single leader, You are confronting the unbreakable will of a nation. We have obtained evidence, not from rumors, but from our own intelligence services, from brave officers and civil servants who risked their lives to expose secret channels of money, secret communications, secret instructions. We know of the meetings in luxury hotels far from our land where our future was sold on PowerPoint slides like a product to be bought and sold. We know of the agents sent into our territory under the cover of NGOs and consultancies. We know of the mercenary groups trained abroad, promised safe passage, promised impunity, told they would be hailed as liberators when they arrived in our capital. We know of the media operations designed to smear our leaders, to call us dictators, to fabricate scandals. This was not an accident. This was not the spontaneous action of a few rogue elements. This was a deliberate, coordinated plan to erase our sovereignty. They underestimated us. They believed that because we are a small country, because we do not yet have satellites or nuclear weapons or a stock exchange, we would be soft clay in their hands. They believed that because some of our elites still travel to their capitals for medical care or education, we would be grateful to be their pawns. They believed that because they had succeeded in other lands, they could succeed here. They did not understand that the soul of Burkina Faso is not for sale. When the first rumors of this plot reached me, I was angry, but I was not surprised. Our history is a history of resisting colonization and resisting neo-colonization. Thomas Sankara taught us that he who feeds you controls you. He taught us that a slave who cannot say no to his master is not yet a man. So we said no. We said no in the council chambers. We said no in the barracks. We said no in the villages and the markets. We said no with our voices, with our votes, with our hearts, and if necessary, with our blood. I want you to understand what we faced. The foreign powers did not only plan to remove me as an individual, they planned to dismantle the entire project of national dignity we have been building. They wanted to break our security agreements with our neighbors, to open our borders again to terrorists and smugglers, to privatize our remaining state enterprises, to impose loans and conditions that would keep us in chains for another 50 years. They wanted to take our gold, our cotton, our water, our uranium. They wanted to install a puppet who would sign whatever they put in front of him. This is what was at stake. And so when they sent their emissaries to lecture us, when they threatened sanctions, when they froze our accounts, when they whispered promises of personal wealth if only I would step aside, I told them, I am not for sale, and Burkina Faso is not for sale. When they tried to bribe our officers, we arrested the traitors. When they tried to infiltrate our media, we exposed the lies. When they tried to send mercenaries, we intercepted them at the borders. When they tried to sow fear, we stood firm. Some said, Traore, you are too young, you will be crushed. Some said, give in a little, compromise, they are too powerful. But I tell you tonight, the only compromise between freedom and slavery is slavery. There is no middle ground. Either we govern ourselves or we are governed by others. And we, the people of Burkina Faso, have chosen to govern ourselves. To those foreign powers who orchestrated this plot, I speak now with clarity, so there can be no misunderstanding. You have failed. You have failed not only in your attempt to unseat a government, but in your deeper ambition to unseat a people's dignity. You believed that Africa would forever remain your backyard, a quiet place where you could extract, manipulate, and experiment without consequence. You believed that our leaders would forever be your errand boys, running to your capitals for instructions, returning home with orders disguised as advice. You believed that our soldiers would forever die in your proxy wars, shedding their blood for contracts and concessions that enriched only your companies and your elites. But hear me tonight, those days are over, buried in the red dust of the Sahel and in the memories of our ancestors who endured centuries of this treatment. You mistook our patience for weakness, our politeness for consent, our openness for gullibility. You mistook our hospitality for subservience. You assumed that because your flags once flew over our cities, our spirits still belonged to you. But the children born after independence are not shackled by that mental colonization. They see through your games. They decode your language. They have read your history. They know that behind every stabilization mission lies a contract. Behind every development program lies a condition. Behind every security partnership lies a demand for obedience. They know, and because they know, your tactics have lost their power. We do not hate you. We do not wish you harm. We know that your peoples are not our enemies, that your farmers, your workers, your students also yearn for justice. We know that the bonds of humanity are deeper than the chains of exploitation, but understanding this does not mean we will submit. It means only that we choose a higher road, the road of dignity without vengeance, of firmness without hatred. We extend our hands as equals, but we will not kneel. We open our doors as partners, but we will not be pawns. You have treated our continent like a chessboard, moving pieces at your whim, sacrificing pawns for your gambits, thinking 10 moves ahead in rooms full of maps and graphs while we bury our dead and count our losses. That game is finished. The board has been flipped. The pawns have stood up. The pieces have begun to move by their own will. If you still wish to engage, you must play a different game, one where there are no masters and no servants, only equals around a table, speaking openly and honestly about mutual benefit. Respect us as equals or leave us alone. This is not a slogan, it is a boundary. It is a declaration of adulthood by a continent long treated as a ward. It is the line between cooperation and domination, between friendship and manipulation. We are no longer the raw material for your industries, the testing ground for your ideologies, the silent partner in your ventures. We are nations, we are peoples, we are sovereign. Our minerals, our waters, our skies, our youth, they belong first to us and only through fair exchange to anyone else. So I say again, to the powers who schemed in the shadows, you have failed. You have awakened what you hoped to keep asleep. You have united what you hoped to divide. You have revealed yourselves to a generation that will never forget. We hold no grudge against your citizens, but we will no longer obey your scripts. If you come with respect, you will find partners. If you come with arrogance, you will find resistance. The age of hidden hands moving African pieces is finished. The age of Africa standing upright has begun. I know that some listening to me tonight will accuse me of paranoia, of conspiracy theories. They will say, no such plot existed. Traoré is inventing enemies to justify his rule. They will publish editorials in their newspapers calling me unstable. They will send diplomats to protest. But I tell you, I have seen the documents. I have read the messages. I have looked into the eyes of the men sent to bribe us. I have interrogated the captured agents. This was real, and because it was real, our resistance had to be real. And yet, I do not stand here only to denounce. I stand here to affirm. We affirm tonight that Burkina Faso belongs to its people. We affirm that our neighbors Mali and Niger share our destiny, and together we will chart a new course free of the dictates of foreign capitals. We affirm that our youth have the right to jobs, to education, to a future at home instead of drowning in the Mediterranean. We affirm that our soldiers have the right to fight for their own land, not for someone else's contracts. We affirm that our mothers and fathers have the right to live without fear of bombs or hunger. This is the meaning of sovereignty. This victory, the collapse of their plot, is not mine, and it is not the property of a single leader or a single movement. It belongs to you, to the ordinary men and women whose quiet courage held the line when the storm came. It belongs to the invisible hands that refuse to sign false papers, to the quiet voices that refuse to echo lies, to the tired feet that still marched for truth instead of money. Without you, no speech of mine, no action of the government could have stopped the tide. With you, the tide turned. It is the victory of the market women who refused to be paid to riot, who closed their stalls for a day rather than lend their presence to a manufactured protest, who told the agents of chaos, we sell vegetables, not our conscience. They are the backbone of our economy, and in that moment, they became the backbone of our democracy. It is their victory. It is the victory of the journalists who refused to publish planted stories, who risked their jobs and sometimes their safety to check the facts. to expose the funding behind anonymous leaks, to look beyond the headlines sent from abroad. They chose truth over fear, and by doing so they built a shield of credibility around our nation. It is their victory. It is the victory of the soldiers who refused to take foreign orders, who turned down envelopes full of cash, who stayed loyal to the flag on their uniform rather than the signatures on a secret contract. They stood at the border posts, in the garrisons, in the villages, and said with their actions, "We serve Burkina Faso, not a distant capital." Their discipline and patriotism were our bulwark. It is their victory. It is the victory of the students who refused to be manipulated, who read critically the messages sent to their phones, who debated fiercely but refused to be divided by tribalism, religion, or promises of scholarships. They saw through the memes and hashtags designed to pit them against one another and answered with solidarity and intelligence. They are the generation that will build a different future. It is their victory, and it is finally the victory of Africa waking up, a victory that transcends our borders. When our neighbors saw the same tactics used against them, they sent words of support instead of silence. When they saw our refusal, they found their own courage. When they saw our plot collapse, they realized their own plots could be defeated. Across the continent, ordinary citizens are beginning to connect the dots, to share strategies, to say to one another, "We will not be used again." This too is part of your victory, because your stand has helped ignite a fire of awareness far beyond our own land. This victory is woven from millions of individual choices, to be honest, when it would have been easier to be corrupt, to be brave when it would have been safer to be silent, to be united when it would have been simpler to be divided. It is a tapestry of dignity stitched by many hands, and because it is built this way, no one can claim it alone, no one can take it away, and no one can destroy it. But let us not be naive. Because their plot has failed once does not mean they will stop. They will return with new tactics, new faces, new promises. They will send development aid tied to conditions. They will offer scholarships that recruit spies. They will fund NGOs to destabilize us from within. They will whisper in the ears of our elites that their future lies elsewhere. We must remain vigilant. We must strengthen our institutions, our media, our intelligence, our unity. We must educate our people to recognize manipulation. We must build our own economy so that we are not dependent on their crumbs. This is not only a struggle for Burkina Faso, it is a struggle for Africa. It is a struggle for the right of a people to stand upright. It is a struggle for the soul of the 21st century. Either Africa will rise as a partner among equals, or Africa will be carved up again like in the Berlin Conference. The choice is ours, and the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. To my fellow heads of state across Africa who may be listening, you too are targets. Do not think that because you smile for the cameras in Paris or Washington or some other capital you are safe. The same hands that pat you on the back today will push you off the cliff tomorrow if you dare to disobey. Unite with your people, stand with your soldiers, invest in your youth, build alliances based on respect, not subservience. Only then will we be free. To the youth of Burkina Faso, do not be discouraged by the enormity of the challenge. Every generation has its test. Our fathers fought colonialism. Our older brothers fought structural adjustment. We are fighting neo-colonial regime change. If we win, our children will live free. If we fail, they will be slaves. The choice is clear. And to the foreign powers who listen to my words tonight, perhaps with anger, perhaps with disbelief, I repeat, we do not seek your enmity. We seek respect. We seek partnership. We seek a world where Africa is no longer the object but the subject of history. You can join us in that world, or you can continue your old games and be left behind. But know this, we are awake, we are standing, we are not afraid. Some may say, but Traore, you speak like a revolutionary, you risk isolation. I answer, isolation imposed by injustice is better than integration on our knees. True partnership is not built on threats, but on mutual benefit. True democracy is not imposed from abroad, but born at home. True development is not a gift but a creation of our own hands. Tonight, as I stand here, I remember the faces of our martyrs, our farmers, our teachers, our soldiers. I remember the hopes of our children. I remember that this chair I sit in is not a throne but a trust. And I swear to you, I will not betray that trust. No amount of pressure, no amount of money, no amount of fear will make me sell Burkina Faso. If they come for me personally, let them come. But know that behind me stands a people who will not be ruled again. We are writing a new chapter. It will not be easy. We will make mistakes. We will stumble. But we will walk on our own feet. We will speak with our own voice. We will dream with our own dreams. And when the history of this century is written, it will say that in a small land called Burkina Faso, a people stood up, exposed a plot, and chose dignity over submission. This is my message tonight. This is our victory. This is our warning. This is our promise. May the ancestors guide us. May the youth sustain us. May our unity protect us. And may our freedom endure.